I would like to invite Mr. Sengutuvan, Chairman of our institution, Mrs. Hemalata Sengutuvan, Secretary of our institution, Ms. Raghavi, Governing Board Member of our institution. I invite today's chief guest, Dr. V. Shankar sir. I also like to invite our beloved principal, Dr. G. Vincent sir, HODs and my dear colleagues from various departments. Also, I would like to invite professors from various institutions. I also invite my dear research scholars from various institutions. Once again, I welcome to you all. I wish today as a great day for you all. Thank you. Light symbolizes knowledge, purity, and is the dispeller of the darkness. If you light a lamp for someone else, it will give a brighten to your path also. Now it's a time for lighting the lamp. Please join virtually. Thank you. God speaks in the silence of the heart. Listening is the beginning of the prayer. Now we are listening a prayer song to speak as God.
வேண்டியதை
To all my friends, without distinction, I'm ready to display my obliance, come one, come all. And whosoever likes to take a share is welcome to the well that lies with my soul. Now I invite Mr. B. Gobinath, HOD Department of CS, for delivering a welcome address of today's event. I welcome you, sir.
Good morning, one and all gathered here. I am very delightful to deliver the welcome address on behalf of Computer Science Department. I welcome our Chairman Sir, Secretary Ma'am, Governing Council members, Principal, fellow teachers and participants to this 6 days faculty development program on strategic resilience and organization agility from 26th May 2021 to 31st May 2021. One tree can start a forest. One drop can make an ocean. One word can frame a goal. One candle can wipe the darkness. A true leader has a confidence, stand alone and courageous. I welcome our chairman, Mr. K. Sengutuvan, to this great occasion. A fragrance of flower spreads only in the direction of wind, but the goodness of a person spreads in all directions. A woman with positivity, caring and affectionate. I welcome our respected Secretary Ma'am, Mrs. Hemalata Sengutuvan, to this gathering. Leadership is based on inspiration, not a domination, on cooperation, not intimidation. The budding leaders with energetic, optimistic and dynamic. I welcome our Governing Council members, Ms. Raghavi Sengutuvan and Dharani Sengutuvan, to this occasion. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way and shows the way. Our principal with positivity, enabler and motivator. I welcome Dr. G. Vincent to this great occasion. A guest of honor, Dr. V. Shankar, a unique person, contribution to the field of innovation, education and risk. I welcome Dr. V. Shankar to this grand occasion. One child, one book, one teacher can change the entire world. Now I welcome the fraternity teachers and eminent scholars to this faculty development program. It is gratifying to note that the agenda of this FDP covers a wide range of interesting topics like intellectual property rights, quality enhancement in higher educational institutions, curriculum 4.0, professional positivism, e-content development, and industry institution interface, to build with the intent of active and interactive teaching and learning. I assure that this FDP will be more meaningful and thought-provoking session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There are always three speeches for everyone you actually gave. The one you practiced, the one you gave, and the one you wish you gave. Now, I would like to invite our beloved chairman, sir, Mr. Sengutuvan, for delivering a felicitation address. I welcome you, sir.
வணக்கம், அனைவருக்கும் காலை வணக்கம். நம்ம வள்ளுவர் கல்லூரி சார்பாக நடைபெறும் 6 நாள் ஃபேக்கல்டி டெவலப்மெண்ட் ப்ரோக்ராமுக்கு இன்றைக்கு சிறப்பு விருந்தினராக வந்துள்ள திரு சங்கர் சார் அவர்களை நம்ம கல்லூரி சார்பாக மனமாற வாழ்த்துகிறேன், நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நன்றி சார். நம்ம கல்லூரியில் இந்த சிறப்பான விழாவுக்கு ஏற்பாடு செய்துள்ள நம்ம கல்லூரி முதல்வர் டாக்டர் ஜி வின்சென்ட் அவர்களுக்கும், கல்லூரி ஆசிரியர் பெருமக்களுக்கும், ஏனைய நம்ம கல்லூரியுடைய கவர்னிங் கவுன்சில் மெம்பர் ராகவி மேடம் அவர்களுக்கும் எனது நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறோம். அதாவது நம்ம கல்லூரியில நம்ம இந்த FTP ப்ரோக்ராம் நம்ம கல்லூரியில இருக்கிற ஆசிரியர்களுக்கு மட்டும் தான் பண்ணலாம்னு நினைச்சோம். பட் அது நாம நமக்கு மட்டும் கிடைக்கக்கூடாது, மற்றவர்களுக்கும் கிடைக்கணுக்காக தான் இந்த சிறப்பான ஒரு ஏற்பாடு பண்ணியிருக்கோம். இதுல 6 நாட்களும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா 6 பேருமே மிகப்பெரிய ஜெயண்டா வந்திருக்காங்க. முதல் சங்கர் சாரை தான் கேட்ட உடனே சார் உடனே ஒத்துக்கிட்டாரு. இந்த சங்கர் சாரோட அனுபவங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அவர் NIT படிச்சுட்டு US போய் டாக்டரேட் பண்ணிட்டு அவருக்கு ப்ராக்டிக்கல் எக்ஸ்போசர் இந்த பேட்டர்ன்ல அவருக்கு அவ்வளவு பெரிய அனுபவங்கள் இருக்கு. ஸோ இதுல கேட்கிற ஒவ்வொரு ஆசிரியர் பெருமக்களும் தங்களுடைய மாணவர்களுக்கு எடுத்துட்டு போகணும்னு ஆசைப்படுறேன். நான் இது ஏதோ வெறும் சர்டிபிகேட்டுக்கு மட்டும் இல்லாம இது உண்மையாலுமே உங்க வகுப்புல இருக்கிற மாணவர்களை 50 மாணவர்களை 5 மாணவர்களாவது வாழ்க்கையில முன்னுக்கு வரணும்னு ஆர்வமுள்ள மாணவர்கள் கண்டிப்பாக இருப்பார்கள். ஒவ்வொரு வகுப்பறையிலுமே ஒரு 10% மாணவர்கள் வந்து ஒரு என்தூசியாசமா இருப்பாங்க. அவர்களுக்கு நம்ம வந்து இன்னைக்கு வந்து கரண்ட்ல என்ன இருக்கு, அதாவது இந்த நாட்டுல வந்து 140 கோடி ஜனத்தொகை இருக்காங்க. இந்த ஜனத்தொகை வந்து நம்ம நாடு டெவலப்பிங் கண்ட்ரி ஆகணும்னா நம்முடைய மாணவர்கள்லாம் வந்து அதாவது வெறும் பட்டதாரியா இருக்கக்கூடாது. அவர்கள் வந்து மற்றவர்கள் வழிகாட்டக்கூடிய மாணவர்களா இருக்கணும். அவருக்கு வந்து ஆசிரியர்கள் தான் அவருக்கு வந்து மாடலா இருக்கணும். நான் அடிக்கடி சொல்லுவது உண்டு, ஆசிரியர்கள் வந்து ஆச்சரியப்படுவர்களா இருக்கும்னு சொல்லுவேன் நானு. ஆசிரியர்கள் என்பவர்கள் ஆச்சரியப்படுவர்களா இருக்க வேண்டும். அதற்கு என்ன தேவைன்னா தொடர்ந்து நாம் வந்து கற்றுக்கொண்டே இருந்தா தான் நம்ம வந்து ஆச்சரியப்படுவர்களா இருக்க முடியும். அந்த வகையில வந்து இந்த FTP ப்ரோக்ராம் வந்து உண்மையிலே வந்து ஒரு நல்ல ப்ரோக்ராம் ஏற்பாடு பண்ணி கொடுத்துருக்கோம். இது வந்து ஒவ்வொரு ஃபேக்கல்டி மெம்பர்ஸும் வந்து நான் வந்து சரியாக பயன்படுத்திக் கொள்ள வேண்டும். ஸோ அடி நம்ம வந்து பென்சில்ல எழுதிட்டே இருக்கிறோம். அந்த பென்சிலை வந்து ஷார்ப்னஸோட கொஞ்சம் CVT எழுதணும்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, கொஞ்சம் ஷார்ப்பா எழுதும். அது மாதிரி தான் இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம் இது. இந்த லாக்டவுன் பீரியட்ல வந்து நம்ம கொஞ்சம் ஃப்ரீயா இருக்கிறோம். இந்த நேரத்தில் வந்து நம்முடைய நாடு டெவலப் பண்ணிட்டோம்னா அது வந்து அடுத்த தலைமுறை நம்முடைய மாணவர்களுக்கு பயனுள்ள வகையில கொண்டு போய் செல்லும் அப்படிங்கிறது என்னுடைய ஒரு நம்பிக்கை. இதற்கு வந்து ஏற்பாடு செஞ்சு கொடுத்த முதல்வர் அவர்களுக்கும் கல்லூரி ஆசிரியர் பெருமக்களும் மீண்டும் எனது வணக்கத்தை நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am, audible, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, sir. If your action inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Now, I would like to invite our beloved principal, Dr. G. Vincent, to deliver a presidential address. I welcome, sir.
Yeah, good morning to one and all gathered here. Respected Chairman, sir, respected Secretary, ma'am, Ms. Raghavi, the Governing Council member, the Speaker of the day, Dr. V. Shankar, will be taking another 1 hour in giving us a complete view on intellectual property rights, which is a requirement of the higher educational institution in India. The head of the departments of Vellore College of Science and Management, faculties of Vellore College of Science and Management, and all learned people who have joined virtually for this wonderful FDP. I wish you once again a very good morning. And strategic resilience and organizational agility. One should wonder what is resilience and what is agility. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly, and agility is ability to move quickly. So, Indian higher education is dynamic in nature, and it faces serious threats from all corners of the world. And the threats or challenges are like globalization. It requires to update itself to its global standards, and there is a technology disruption taking place, and there is a industry expectations also. So industry moves from 1.0 to 4.0. So from 1.0 to 4.0, we have to move our curriculum to curriculum 1.0 to 4.0. So this is a process where whenever we have a change, even the pandemic situations like this, uncertainty situations like this, so it will be a very serious threat, and we will be halt the education system. One day will be halt. Then what are we going to do? So the solution is resilience. So individual and organizational device as strategic resilience, and organization should agile itself, agility to change the new environment. So this is how we kept this topic, so that it will give a clear idea to adjust ourselves, that is the higher education can align itself to the changes and to the uncertainties. So this is the topic. And in the Vellore College of Science and Management, which is the icon of Karur and even Tamil Nadu, and if you look at the origin, it was originally started to give an education. It was a dream of our chairman to give education to the workers who worked in hotel, and it was started to give education for them. And slowly it was developed as an arts and science colleges, and almost with 20 years, it stands tall in the state of Tamil Nadu with 10 departments and more than 1,000 students, and more than the education, we give quality, we give ethics and value system. We don't not only give education, but also value as a part of curriculum. So with this introduction, we will move on to education is the passport to the future for tomorrow, belonging to those who prepare it for today. Malcolm. And India has rich in its heritage and its contribution is enormous. And how the education or the subjects are evolved. Once we were completely devoted, the ancient Indians or ancient humans are devoted to nature and we worship nature. And worshipping the nature or worship is a part of our community. And for this is how the subjects are evolved. For construction of altar of the sacrifice, geometry and later algebra came in. And for finding out the auspicious times and seasons for sacrifice led to astronomy, astrology, and for dissection of a body of victims or sacrifice, it gave the birth to physics, anatomy and physiology, biology, of course, and for preserving the sacred text, the grammar and philology came in. This is how the ancient India and the ancient history, the subjects were evolved, and India is very rich in heritage and rich in culture, and it leaves always a legacy to the world by its contribution. And there are many things that India was the first one to contribute. Plastic surgery was developed in India. Cataract surgery was again from India. India added zero to mathematics, and binary system was contributed by Indian, and even Fibonacci series was contributed by Indian. And now the presentation will be on three dimensions. One is on ancient India, medieval India, and modern India. And why should we or why should the organization to resign itself to the new environment? If you look at the ancient education, there are two systems of education, Vedic and Buddhist. And Vedic was Sanskrit and Buddhist were followed Pali. And the learning was part of the one remarkable notable thing is Hindu learning was part of Buddhist, and there were many conferences, oral and debates were taking place, exams were conducted every year, and NRI students came to India. So that was the legacy of Indian culture and Indian education. The world's first university, Dakshashila, was a well-known university which attracted many scholars from all over the world, and it was considered as rich and heritage by UNESCO in the year 1980. And so was Nalanda University. It also attracted many scholars from all over the world. And one such example is Yuan Swang, the first NRI student in India, and he learned the subjects like Vedas, fine arts, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, and he became the student of Yoga Shastra. So this was the rich heritage, and in ancient history, the environment, the students were taught in an open environment with free air. Okay. Medieval, after the Mughals invaded in India in the 18th century, Muslim leaders established permanent empire in India, and the education system of medieval India focused on Islamic and Mughal system. And learning at that time, it was used to write tactics, first alphabets, then words, calligraphy and grammar yearned. Students used to learn Quran by heart as this was an important part of their curriculum. So this was the medieval India. Modern education, once British people invaded or British people came into India, they introduced a modern education, the actual classrooms. Now, instead of going to Gurukula, going to a teacher's place, in modern education, a complete physical structure, physical classrooms started taking place where the teaching learning process took place. And Gurukula too. Now, what is the recent trend? It's a Gurukula to Google Classroom. So this is a paradigm shift from ancient history or ancient education to modern education. And now you cannot avoid the Google Classroom. You cannot avoid the different educational apps given. And this actually enables the learning and teaching process effectively. And again, there is a shift from physical classroom to flipped classrooms. Now people use only the flipped classrooms where it has a lot of advantages. The participation learning is taking place, the group discussion is taking place, or the hidden talent of the people started coming out. So this is the fine part, this is the positive side of modern education. And the modern education was learner centered, unlike teacher centered in the previous or the ancient, and subject specific and skill based knowledge and interactive engagement and conceptual and practical. So these are the features and these are the advantages over the disadvantages of the traditional education or the ancient education. Now, what is the role of higher educational institution in the digital era? There is a absolute disruption of technology taking place. As per the one study, 70% of the jobs will be taken by automation. And again, there is a positive side that we will have more employment opportunity in the area of um, uh, big data, um, data technology, artificial intelligence, and so on. So the role of higher education in digital era should be practice over theory, multidisciplinary learning, digital innovation, and it should aim for closer link to job market and competitiveness a priority for the higher educational institutions in India. And education during pandemic. And we have been experiencing for the past 1 year all of a sudden the teachers, the institution had to reset button of online mode. Now both we have to quickly adjust and align to blend more of online and offline teaching. And this is a real challenge for teachers because it will give us unfamiliarity, workload in burden, isolation, stretch. We have to stretch. So these are the real challenges in the time of pandemic and for the past 1 year. So there are a lot of questions, lot of challenges. One is globalization, changing industrial revolution, or the expectation from the industry, or the sudden pandemic situation like this. So how will we solve it and what is the solution? And the solution is resilience. And I said resilience is one's ability to cope with adverse situation and bounce back stronger. It's a process of handling stress and recovering from trauma and adversity. And what are the efforts that is made by Indian government in bringing or giving or meeting this adverse situation? And this is India's resilience in the field of academic, in the field of higher education. One nation, one digital platform, one class and one channel for the school children, and Swayam move courses. And this is a move courses which normally recently all the educational institutions have given the exams and the results were out, I suppose. The religious languages, and they see this is for the program for disabled persons. And these are the efforts that Indian government made. And how the individual should resile themselves, how the faculties as a team and departments should resile themselves, how the organization should resile themselves. So this is how the individual should resile. One is from doing to being. Though it is unfamiliar, though it is workload burden, though you have to work in isolated mode, right? And you have to start building by from doing to being and quickly adapt to the new changes, learning the ICT enabled tools more quickly so that we meet the requirements of the student and the institution. The team is develop college as a whole, or department as a whole, or the faculty as a whole. there should be a team learning. There should be a team learning, fostering relationship with the one faculties. We can go for the networking, proper networking where you can mingle with others, you can chat with others, you can exchange ideas with others. If you have any difficulties with adapting new technology, right? There are many platforms, online platforms available where you can chat with others, share your ideas, and get expertise to get benefited. And diversity within the team is another requirement for team resilience and organizational resilience. So, analyzing and accepting the truth. Okay, it's difficult for the institution all of a sudden going from offline to online. What should the organization should do? How should it? It has to increase the infrastructure and it has to motivate the faculty members to meet the requirement of the students, and finally it creates a social capital of the country. So these are the three levels of higher education institutions resilience in India. And now we have gathered here to get more knowledge, to get expertise knowledge from the different experts like Sir will be talking about artificial intelligence and curriculum 4.0, how to align 4.0 with industry 4.0, and we will be talking one session on uh, e-content development, which is the necessity, which is the need of the web. So the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows, and now everybody is gathered here. All the participants are gathered here to turn mirrors into windows, and we will see a more delightful world, a positive world. And with these words of appreciation, I thank you all. I thank the management for giving this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, Anandam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Mr. B. Gobinath, HOD, Department of CS, for giving a brief introduction about today's resource person, Dr. V. Shankar, founder of Deep Tech IP and consultant, Maxwell IP Services. I invite you, sir.
Faculty Development Program, Day 1, Intellectual Property Rights, Resource Person, Dr. V. Shankar. Dr. V. Shankar is an eminent scholar and research scientist and the founder of Deep Tech IP Solutions and a consultant, intellectual property and special projects in Maxwell Group and Vice President of India Patent Preparation and Prosecution. He has started his career BE Meteorological Engineering in National Institute of Technology, Trichy from 1979 to 1984. He did his Master of Science, MS Material Science Engineering in Oregon Graduate Institute, Portland from 1984 to 1986. He completed his doctorate degree in Indian Institute of Technology, Madras with specialization of Meteorological Engineering. He is
Gobi sir.
So voice இல்ல சார்.
Sir, Gobi
sir,
உங்க
unmute
mic on
பண்ணுங்க
பண்ணுங்க.
sir. Unmute பண்ணுங்க sir.
sir audible. Sir, I am audible.
Yeah. Now it is fine.
இப்ப கேக்குது.
Okay, sir. He completed, Dr. V. Shankar has completed his doctorate degree in Indian Institute of Technology, Madras with specialization of Meteorological Engineering. He is a licensed Indian patent agent from Indian Patent Office. He is an eminent scientist in Department of Atomic Energy and Portland State University. audible? Arvind sir.
Only audible. Go ahead.
These are in pattern prostitution and research is to solve talent and the culture of human mastermind, scientist, vicious reader, and educationalist. On behalf of Oliver College of Science and Management, Dr. V. Shankar, the key speaker of this intellectual property. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, without much ado, I will start presenting.
Thank you, sir. Every thought you produce, anything you say, any actions you do it bears your signature. It is a valuable time for us. Now, I would like to invite our today's chief guest, Dr. V. Shankar, sir, for sharing his knowledge with us. Kindly, and I invite to take over the session, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. So,
Thank
today
you,
we are
sir.
going to talk about intellectual property. So, as you know, the moment we say property, that goes into the realm of the law. So, this is a completely interdisciplinary subject. So, both intellectual efforts and property rights come into play. So let's talk about, go deeper into about what IPR is about. We are actually referring to creations of the mind. Anybody creating anything, it may be an invention. So you think of a new technical solution to something, then that becomes an invention. A literary work, somebody writes a story or poetry or anything, that is a literary work. And artistic work, you can say a sculpture or a painting comes under artistic work. Symbols, names, images and designs used in commerce, you know very well, right? So brand names and the logos, all those things come under trademark. So that those are all part of intellectual property. So you must realize that all these forms of IP, they have specialized laws that govern the protection and use. So we will see why the specialized laws are necessary in as we go into a little more detail. But many aspects of general civil law are also applicable. What do we mean by civil law here? We are talking about you cannot take someone else's property, you cannot steal, and you can do many things, many useful things, like you can sell the property. Just like physical property, you can also sell intellectual property, and you can also sell or license or rent out intellectual property, just like you can do for physical property. So that's what we mean by general civil law. Okay. So we'll just go into the various types of intellectual property. By the way, anytime if you have any question, please ask me, because that's the only way we can learn. We can go into any point that is not clear to you, and then that needs to be elaborated. So intellectual property covers a wide range of topics, and these are all separate topics in themselves, and they to some extent all of them involve business and law. You cannot separate out the business aspect from the legal aspect. See, they actually meet and intertwine. Am I audible? Is there any difficulty? Okay.
It's clear, sir.
The major points under which we consider intellectual property are patents. I think this is the best known intellectual property, although trademarks are a very huge aspect of intellectual property. See, the name or the logo itself is the property here. That's what we are talking about. Can you imagine any well-known name like Microsoft or Apple or any Indian name, Tata's? So that name itself is worth thousands of crores of rupees, isn't it? So that's what we are talking about. That is the intellectual property. That is how it is manifested. Trade secrets. Trade secrets are very interesting category. GIs, geographical indications. Then we finally come to copyrights. There are other forms of intellectual property also, like industrial design. So industrial design refers to appearance of an object. So that can be registered as a design. Then there is protection of plants and traditional knowledge as part of sui generis. Sui generis means we have our own way to protect that. The international treaties, they have told you do whatever is necessary to protect whatever you have. That's how they use the term sui generis. So it's just a general term, that's all. It doesn't have any other specific meaning. And so patents involve a lot of technology. They are the ones in which technology overlap with business and law is maximum. Similarly, trade secrets. Trade secrets is actually a complement to patent rights. Feel of a product, the feel of a product and the feel of the reputation. This is what is totally intangible. How can you capture reputation in a name or a logo? So it cannot be captured in standards. You cannot merely say that a product satisfies a certain standard and therefore it is distinguishable, because that is not true. Only name and logo can make something distinctive. Okay, so that is what we mean by intangible qualities that can be captured by trademarks. So for trademarks, it should be registered with the trademark office for protecting it. It does not mean that any villager cannot use any trademark that they want. For instance, a villager may want to sell in nearby villages. He can use any trademark that he wants. It is only when there is a dispute that things like registration and all will be called for. So this interesting thing about trademarks in the case of patents, the monopoly is only for 20 years. After that, there is no renewal, but not so for trademarks. So trademarks can be renewed every 10 years. So that is the interesting thing. And so consequently, many trademarks are very old. Can you give some examples of old trademarks, more than 100 years old?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can I hear somebody? Yeah. Yes, ma'am, please. I think I should see. Yeah, like many automobile trademarks are very old. Mercedes, more than 100 years old. Ford, more than 100 years old. Even our Britannia trademark may be very old. Britannia biscuits and even Tata's maybe 80 years old. The present Ratan Tata's grandfather.
Godrej also is more than 100 years old.
Is that so? Okay, okay. So we can look at some web sources. They may tell, even the company website may say when the trademark was registered. So trademarks need not expire. They can be kept alive so long as you can show that the mark is in use. Okay. Sometimes you have to show that it is in continuous use, and then in case it is you want to restore it and you have not renewed it, then you have to show that it is under continuous use, and then you have to show you may have to pay additional fees to revive that trademark. That's how it goes. And so trademark can be licensed just like patents. Patents also can be licensed, and on many products you would have seen under licensed trademark from trademark license from so and so company, like that. And user of the trademark may be different. He might have gotten the license. And in the case of commercial trademarks, it is very common to see sub-territory to be divided. For instance, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, maybe with one trading company. Another company may be in charge of Maharashtra and Gujarat and also on. So Eastern region, another company, like that. So that is because the sales territories can be easily divided, and the trademark user can be different in those different jurisdictions. Although for India, the common trademark holder may be the same, the trademark licensee may be different. That's an interesting aspect of trademarks. So this is also an interesting category. So only name and logos and other things are protected.
Sir, can I say some brand names, sir?
Yeah, you can say yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Toyota, sir. Toyota, Motorola.
Yeah. Toyota, Motorola, these all. Toyota is a famous Japanese company.
Yes, sir. Unichef. Android, sir. Internet Explorer.
See, the Android is actually a common name, isn't it? That is slightly different. Although it might have been, it's a copyrighted, so we will come to that. Things get a little bit more complicated. For instance, the word Android, although it was brought into play by Google, it is not a trademark. That is, it doesn't. The distinguishing feature of a trademark is that it should label a brand or a product. So that is not the case for Android, because there are so many fonts. Android is a generic word. There are so many fonts carrying the Android operating system or Android-based operating system. So that gets a little bit complicated. So there may be rights associated with. So it's not exactly a trademark. I would say it's a slightly different animal. Okay. But you said some other things. Toyota and Motorola are definitely trademarks, because there are companies are there that use that sell products under that name. Okay. So we next go to trade secrets. Trade secrets are very interesting category. See, any technology, will have trade secrets as part of it. Why? See, if you are doing something, even the food business you take, there are so many trade secrets to selecting the kind of produce from a certain source. Okay, it may be a field that is located in a particular location. It may be, for procuring in particular season only and not all the time. It may be procuring a particular, from certain known sources. All those things may be there, and a way of preserving that. All these things are trade secrets that are used by grocery shop holders. Similarly, somebody who is doing castings, iron castings, he will have trade secrets associated with how to do those castings without defects. Every small aspect, paper making, handmade paper making, the commercial paper mill, the kind of coatings that are used. Any technology you take, there is so many trade secrets. Suppose somebody wants to keep it a secret, then what will happen? That secret may not be known to the general public. Sometimes trade secrets can be kept. You can keep it a secret. Others cannot easily find out. Some products are like that. There was a welding electrode company about 30-40 years ago. It was called Magna Welding Electrode Company. I am not sure if it still exists. It used to produce very specialized welding electrodes for welding, repairing components. Suppose a motor pump casing, fails, they will weld it using that Magna electrode and then put it into use. So plant engineers really like that. And that used to come from Australia. And it was very special composition. What is there in a welding electrode? There is a metal rod. Over the metal rod, there is a coating. The coating will have a special composition. That composition is not easy to analyze and recreate. So that's what was special here. The alloy metal was also good, no doubt, but others can analyze the metal and then they can also try to get that metal melted, or it's very expensive, but they can do that. Sometimes specialized stainless steel or nickel alloy, these are all or copper alloy, these are all very expensive materials, not like common steel that you can purchase for a 50 rupees or 100 rupees or a few hundred rupees if it's a special steel, per kilo. But these are all maybe more expensive. But this welding electrode used to sell for 10,000, a few 10,000s of rupees per kilo. I'm talking about 40 years ago. Why? Because it was so useful and it had such a special composition that to make a weld using that, it will not crack. And you don't have to know what is there in the original component. You can simply use this and weld it. And that component will be good as new. And then they can put that component into service with minimum loss of productivity. Because plants, they can lose lakhs and crores of rupees if the production is stopped. So that is what we mean by trade secret. The formulation of the electrode was kept as a trade secret by this Australian company. Turns out that they use some rare earth metals and rare earth oxides that were very good at tying up some of the impurities that may be present in the steel, and it will take care of the cracking problems and so on. But later on, other companies also learned how to make that. See, if the incentive is good enough, reverse engineering is can be done by others. What is reverse engineering? Anybody? So reverse engineering is when you can see something, see a product, and then recreate it. If it's software, there are people who are very good at coding. So they will understand what are the inputs and what are the outputs, and then figure out what kind of algorithm can be used to generate the output from the inputs. It's not a very easy problem, but there are people who can do that. So that the market can be captured by somebody who is innovative and who realizes the need for a certain type of output from a certain type of input. The whole industry is about that one. How can you make money? So if you give something that is of less value, you do something that costs not much, but what you produce is very valuable. So that's the holy grail for everybody is looking for that kind of solution so that you can mint money. But trade secrets are all about that one. So any technology has trade secrets as part and part of it, parcel of it. So it is similar to patented knowledge only. Only thing, it doesn't have any special protection, and there is risk of the knowledge being stolen. An employee who knows the secret can walk away from the company, and you cannot do much. You can only try to prosecute under known laws which don't protect very much. See, the employee confidentiality can be it's a huge risk. That is why people don't try to patent wherever trade secrets are involved. They try to, but if you patent it, you have to disclose whatever is the valuable information in the patent document itself. But if you can easily identify if somebody has copied it, then nothing like it. That's very good, because whatever need not be kept secret, because it can be easily found out if somebody copies, then you can put it in a patent document. So we generally do not advise clients to keep something as trade secret. But there are instances of successful trade secrets also, like Coca-Cola and all that. Paint formulation or some other formulation, it's like the example I gave you, the welding electrode formulation. That is not so easy for others to guess or reverse engineer. Then that can be kept as a trade secret. So next we go to geographical indications. This is a very interesting category. So this category is relevant for a lot of handicrafts, textiles, and our traditional products. Is very, very important. You have heard of Tanjavur Bommai, Tanjavur castings, bronze castings of the icons. The Silai, Panchaloka Silai, and that's all covered under geographical indications. Similarly, Kanjipuram silk saree, so many textile traditions are there. The Pochampalli, Andhra Pradesh is having so many traditions. Tamil Nadu also, Madurai Sungudi, all these things are covered by geographical indications. The idea here is to protect the knowledge of the people who are practicing that art and who are doing that business as a traditional business. They traditionally making that product and then selling it. So they should be protected. Someone else sitting somewhere else should not produce that same article and then call it Madurai Sungudi. That would be unfair to the people who have learned the technique and who have a distinctive product. But this can be owned by, there's no ownership, it's only community ownership of the GI. And they can take the cooperative society or the community or the government agency that is tasked, they can take action against anybody misusing that mark. Similarly, tea growers in Darjeeling, what is the distinctiveness there? See, it comes from the type of tea that is grown there, the unique flavor that comes because of the climatic conditions. So Darjeeling has a certain very nice climate because of the elevated altitude, like 4,000 to 5,000 feet above sea level. 3,000 to 5,000 feet, generally tea grows well, the flavor may be very good. Similarly, Nilgiris tea also has its own distinctive flavor, and because of that. And this is all subject of international reciprocation, international trade. The example of that is champagne. So what is champagne? Champagne is a wine, alcoholic drink that is produced by grape growers in Champagne Valley of France. Earlier in the 1980s, United States, California grape growers also wanted to market their product as wine. The French people were taken aback. They were shocked that these upstart American wine growers, wine farmers, they were making wine, and then from the grapes grown there also climatic conditions are very good for growing grapes. So they objected. They went to the World Trade Organization, which is a UN. They went to the UN and then complained. UN said, no, you cannot. They told the American growers, you cannot call it champagne. You give it some other name. And accordingly, it happened. Those were the times when GIs were not even formed. GI as an idea was only a germ of an idea. It was not fully crystallized. Okay. So all these forms of IP have international ramifications. So we'll see in more detail in the coming slide. But we come to a very important right called copyright. You know very well that you, as academic people, you use books and you use copyrighted works. A book, author has copyright from a book. So many of you would have published books also, or at least written articles and received royalties. So the royalty is about the copyright, and the publisher gets money because the publisher invests money in publishing the book, taking the work from the author and printing and publishing and so on. If it's hard copy, it is printing and publishing. If it is a web publication, posting it and distributing it and monitoring misuse and so on, all those things are the costs that the publisher has to cover. And in return, the author gets a percentage of the commercial proceedings. So this can be very, very high. The value can be very high, even if a few rupees come from the sale of each book. If thousands and thousands of books sell, then the amount of money can run into lakhs and crores. So you can look at the authors, like famous authors, international authors like Ian Fleming, James Bond books, or Agatha Christie, or even our own authors like Sandilyan, or any Indian language author like Prem Chand, who wrote Hindi novels, or like that. So any novelist in any language can make money or from the sale of books and translation. There are so many. This is a somewhat complex right because when it comes to today technology has changed everything. Technology has changed the way the content is being copied. So you cannot have the same way the legislation. So our laws are also evolving. Our courts have to take into account the way technology is using the copyrighted works. Technology is allowing people to use copyrighted works. Did somebody say something? I did not hear properly. The duration of copyright is from the creation of a work till 60 years after the death of the author. So this means many ancient works are not copyrighted anymore. Tirukkural can be published by anybody, but they cannot price the book for the contents. So that's the difference. If you can price it for the content, that means you are pricing it for the copyright. And that cannot be done for ancient works because that is already in the public domain. There are so many ancient classics which anybody can reproduce. So the question is right to reproduce and distribute. So that is what this copyright is about. Today we can register something like mobile application screens or presentation of information that can be registered as copyright. You cannot get any other protection for it. For instance, an algorithm or a presentation of information cannot be protected by a patent. So this is a summary slide. So patents are granted for a new product or process that has industrial application. All of these things are yes, please. Please go ahead and ask a question. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Natarajan. I would like to ask a question here. With respect to GI, I would like to ask you one question.
Yeah.
So GI, as long as I don't call by that geographic indication name, I am not prevented from making such an article, right?
Yeah, you are not prevented from making that article, provided there is no other law that you will be, infringing by producing that article. Correct. Technically, you are correct.
For example, Maduramalli, you said, but I can grow it the same thing in Erode and I can sell it without calling it Maduramalli, right? I am not
absolutely correct. See, there is no bar in growing a certain thing. You are saying the term Maduramalli comes because the people there have gotten the GI. The GI has been issued only because Madurai has certain unique soil and climatic conditions that makes these flowers grow well. And they say that the unique flavor and aroma of the malli is different there. So that's what. Even Mysore Mallige, it's like that. Mysore Mallige is famous, and they say that it is different.
For example, Tanjore plate. I can make a plate even better than the Tanjore plate. As long as I don't call it a Tanjore plate, I am not prevented from selling.
You are right. You are technically correct. There is no bar for anybody, improving anything. Yes.
And can I ask you a question about the patent now?
1 minute, sir. There's somebody else raising their hand.
Okay.
We'll give them a chance.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Yes. Tell me.
So this is Dr. Jayashree Indran from Cochin Rajagiri institutions.
Yes.
Actually, I wanted to know something from you, from your expertise. There is something called Creative Commons licensing, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
How is it valid, sir? Is it valid for any proper dealing of intellectual properties, will that license be valid for any other official and other related purposes?
Okay, see, Creative Commons license is a common distribution license for non-copyrighted
Content.
Content like software and any presentation also can be shared under Creative Commons. It is meant for non-commercial use. The moment
Okay.
you do commercial use, you will be violating the Creative Commons. That's what it is. And GitHub shares a lot of software. The source code is also shared. The source code is shared for the use of other developers who want to improve on the product. If you want to exploit it commercially, you can, but there are certain conditionalities. You must pay some royalty to the original use of the software. Yeah.
Okay. But can we claim it as a licensed product if we publish something?
No. You cannot do that. You can only say that it uses this product contains this code that is used under like Creative Commons license, like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. The session was so nice and very informative, sir. Thank you for that.
Welcome. Any other question?
Yeah, I would like to ask two questions now. So, is it always necessary to apply a patent through a patent attorney? An individual can go and apply a patent to the patent office.
Yeah, this is a very good question. See, it's like it is very similar to whether someone can go and argue himself in a court, or whether you can without the use of a chartered accountant, whether I can file my own IT return. In limited cases, you can do it. But if there is any technical complication, because patent attorneys are trained for a number of years, they acquire experience and they acquire a practice. So they have a knowledge and a way of analyzing and preparing the patent application that is guaranteed to get a patent granted. So if someone does not go for that, or does not want to spend money in that, it's hard to argue with that. But let me tell you, that the world's leading company, Apple or Microsoft, leading companies, they are not going to hire or they are not going to go for an unskilled person to do the patent work for them. Suppose you invent a software application and you are competing with the likes of Apple and Microsoft. You are actually competing, because when you go to the patent office and then file a patent application, that is, suppose you have invented a mobile app to do something, you will have to be competing with these giants. And the patent office will consider the same documents for identifying whether something is patentable or not. They will apply the same standards that they apply to the Apple patent, or for the patent that individual person A or B files. So this is how it works. So there's no concession that an individual person is filing, so let us apply some different criteria. No. So the criteria worldwide for a patent, getting a patent, is the same, whether it's India or whether it's any other country. The criteria of novelty and utility and non-obviousness that has to be satisfied are the same. That being the case, you should go for the best qualified person that you can afford. That's my advice. So there are many patent applications that are filed in India that are not really worth it, worth the printed paper also.
I need one more advice from you. Is it good to go a provisional patent first and a full patent, or straight away go to the patent applications?
This is actually a very important question. Normally, a provisional patent application, in fact, we are going ahead. How much time do we have? We have only 10 more minutes. I think barely have, this is actually a more involved question regarding patents, but I will be happy to assist you later on. If we can go deeper, if you can spend some 15 or 20 more minutes, then I could explain, but I don't think we should do that because I don't want to exceed the time given to me and go beyond 1 o'clock. So that question is actually related to how ready the invention is for preparation of a patent application, number one. Number two, what is the urgency and what kind of help that you will need to prepare a provisional patent application can be filed by the inventor himself or herself in most cases, except for there are some caveats. In fact, the person may not know what to put in that, what not to put. So for that, they have to consult a legal expert. So the other thing is the format and actual language of the claim, patent claim, may be not very easy for a lay person to do. Okay, so that's what I want to say. But I want to cover in a few minutes a very important topic. That is international ramifications of all the intellectual property. See, these are all subject to international agreements. Patent rights, you know very well that our Indian products are exported to all over the world. Indian products are exported, software is exported, Indian hardware products, anything, any machinery is exported. How does that work? There, people should not copy our products. In some cases, the copying does take place, but the only way is to proceed through our government and through international law to take action against them. Similarly, Microsoft sells so much software here in India. They provide free software and low price software for academic use in India. Why do they do that? Because they know that that's the only way to capture the market here. They can sell some software to businesses, which they can easily track. They are pirating it. Adobe sells so much software, their products are priced so high. Still, people, if they want it, they have to buy it. But the flip side is, so there is international reciprocity. The Indian patent law has to respect US applicant who is coming from the US and then filing a patent here and wants to protect their product in India. That's why you see so many Indian products sold in India. They are foreign products, and earlier there was not much formal protection for that, but now this formal protection is available. In fact, many people have told me that earlier trademarks that are registered, foreign trademarks, used to be freely registered in India, and by even paying by underhand means, the trademark office used to grant such patents. Now that is not possible because of international agreements. See, people have trademarked the Minolta trademark in India in the 1980s by underhand means, but all that is those days are all gone. Now the patent office is very is under a strict digitization, so nothing different can be done, and even the examination process, everything is totally computerized and everything is transparent. Nobody can hide any procedure under these circumstances. So that's the present status. And these are all, it's very important. These are all very historical. You see, 1993, the Uruguay round of talks, that was when the World Trade Organization was formed. Before that, there was no World Trade Organization. Only the UN was there. The UN had actually was early working on standardization. You know, the International Standards Organization. I was, in fact, a student. Student and young, starting off out with my career in the late 1980s. I saw all these developments firsthand. How the World Trade Organization talks were taking place. How international, in those days, I think it was days of Rangarajan Kumaramangalam and those people who took part in the trade talks. And I think Kamal Nath also later on in his Congress, the first term, he took part in on behalf of the Congress government in these talks. So many, right from these talks are very, very important. You should also study the history of these agreements, because and what are the specifics? Anything that you pay for today, protection from for our indigenous rice varieties, to you take prices pay for medicines. Many people don't talk about these things, especially price of medicines and the patents, without understanding about technology and how patents and all these things work. In fact, even now, some political parties are asking for patent waiver and all that. Patent waiver is not very. That's not the only thing that is going to solve all the problems, especially COVID-related medicines and vaccines. It's not such a simple technology to that everybody will be able to do it. How many of you are aware that there was a fire in the plant, in the premises of the what is that? Serum Institute of India in Pune? There was a huge fire that destroyed some labs. This was a huge setback for the Indian vaccine program. Actually, so you can imagine how it has become a strategic asset. See, the Maharashtra government should protect that Serum Institute. And even the government of India also has to give protection for that, because they that's a very strategic asset for India, because Indian public has to be protected using vaccines produced at that institute. So you can see all these forms of IP are all tying together under various international laws that and under which Indian law has to protect our whatever is required for Indian citizens, whatever is best for India, we have to do it. The government is already doing it, and there is need for the Indian public to be well informed, and the well informed public can give suggestions, and they can guide the political parties and to proceed in the right direction. So this is my message. With this, I would like to conclude. There are just a few minutes left. If there is time for questions, we can go ahead, or I hand it over to the organizers to take this forward.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, ask the questions.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Sir, I am Gopinath from Vallur College.
Yeah.
Sir, is it possible to get patents based on IoT based project? Because the circuits and ICs are already inbuilt and easily available in the market. but students use their own knowledge coding to provide some solution of the problem. Is it possible to apply patterns like that project?
Yeah, this is actually becoming a very crowded field. So a lot of innovations are there. Patents also have been filed by a number of agencies. In fact, many startups and companies. See, it depends on the problem that is being solved ultimately, and the value that you can show. Even if something is similar, for instance, I will tell you, input is X, output is 100X. 100 times whatever can be obtained using the X. See, then that is something breakthrough, you know. So it can be in the nature of time saving. It can be in the nature of a tangible product that is being produced more, something like that. So it's all about showing how the value, where the value lies. So it's not an easy question to answer actually. It may depend on the individual case, and generally when you are using known components in a different way, the onus is on us, the applicant, to show that it is something unique and it is not something that is already existing or a combination of existing things. So we have seen many. So this is a tough challenge only, and I would say the students can, do such innovations only in the case of a breakthrough innovation. It will be worth pursuing. That is, you can evaluate, self-evaluate such innovations. If there are some 10-20 innovations, among them you can select which is the best and which is more promising, and then pursue that for a patent. So that's one way to do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable input for us. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Now, I invite Mrs. R. Kanchana, Assistant Professor, Department of CS, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Saying thank you is more than a good manners. It is a good spirituality too. A very good afternoon to all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all dignitaries assembled here. I would like to thank our chief guest who honored this function with his inspirational speech. I would like to thank our management, our beloved principal, staff members, participants for making this virtual function as a good success. Once again, I thank one and all present here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I thank all the participants for enthusiastic participation. In case there are further questions, they could direct them to Vallur College, and I will try to answer a few of them by email. Awesome.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you and all.
Shall we wind up the session, sir, madam?
Yes, Aravind, sir. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. ரெண்டு லிங்க் கொடுத்திருக்கீங்க. எது நாங்க fill up பண்ணோம்?
மேம் ரெண்டு லிங்க்கும் சேம் லிங்க் தாங்க மேம்.
இல்ல சார், பாருங்க. கண்டென்ட் ஒண்ணா இருக்கும், ஆனா லிங்க் வேறயா இருக்கறனால தான் கேட்டேன். சரி, ஓகே, thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
We will stay for some time to.
Yes, sir. You will stay for some time until people fill up their feedback form.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
டேய் உங்களுக்கு கிளாஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கல எத்தனை மணிக்கு? சரி அதுக்குள்ள சாப்பிட்ருப்பா. சாப்பிட்டு இல்லாட்டி அம்மா வந்து உங்களுக்கு ஊட்டி விடும்.
Hello, organizers.
மேம்
மேம்
இந்த மார்க் எல்லாம் என்ன ஏதாவது குவிஸ் டெஸ்ட் இந்த மாதிரி வச்சிருக்கீங்களா?
மேம் ஃபீட்பேக் போயிட்டு இருக்குங்க மேம்.
இல்லம்மா நீங்க பாயிண்ட்ஸ் 10 பாயிண்ட்ஸ் 5 பாயிண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் போட்டிருக்கீங்கல்ல, அதெல்லாம் எவாலுவேஷன் இருக்கா என்னன்னு கேக்குறேன்.
மேம்
அது நீங்க சர்டிபிகேட்டுக்கு கிரைட்டீரியா வச்சிருக்கீங்களான்னு கேக்குறேன்.
மேம்
தமிழ்
கோபி
சொல்லுங்க
சார்
இல்ல மேம்,
தமிழ்
நோ
சொல்லுங்க.
மேம், கிரைட்டீரியா எதுவும்
No, ma'am,
கிடையாது.
criteria
ஜஸ்ட் உங்களோட இவாலுவேஷனுக்காக தான் மேம்.
என்னமா புரியல?
இல்ல மேம், இது இவாலுவேஷனுக்காக தான் 6 days அட்டெண்ட் பண்ற எல்லாத்துக்குமே இ சர்டிபிகேட் கொடுப்போம் மேம். இத பேஸ் பண்ணி நாங்க வந்து எந்த கிரைட்டீரியாவும் ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணல மேம். திஸ் இஸ் ஜஸ்ட் டு டெஸ்ட் யுவர் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங்.
ஏன்னா இது நம்ம அட்டல் எஃப்டிபில குவிஸ் வைப்பாங்கல்ல எண்ட் ஆஃப் த எஃப்டிபி, அது மாதிரி இது ஏதாவது கால்குலேட் பண்ணுவீங்களான்னு கேட்டேன்.
இல்ல மேம், இல்ல மேம், நோ மேம், நோ.
ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ. ஏன்னா நிறைய இன்னும் இப்போ கேட்டா 1.5 மணி நேரத்துல மனசுல நிக்காதுல்ல, அதெல்லாம்
Okay.
தப்பா இருக்கலாம்.
ஓகே மேம், நோ ப்ராப்ளம் மேம்.
தேங்க்யூ.
ஓகே சார், க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிடலாமா இந்த செஷன்?
மேம் மைண்ட் அப் பண்ணிடலாம் மேம் செஷனை.
மைண்ட் அப் பண்ணிடலாம் சார்.
ஓகே மேம், தேங்க்யூ மேம்.
ஓகே சார்.